Hey, Mark here. I have something really fun for you. I was able to talk to Josh Ruben about his films A Wounded Fawn and Blood Relatives, which are currently streaming on Shudder. We had a great time. We talked about the movies for about 40 minutes, and I can't wait for you to listen to the interview and also then go watch the movies on Shudder. Also, if you're a fan of horror, I have a really fun giveaway going on right now. I have some copies of Smile. I have some 4K copies, some Blu-ray copies, and if you'd like to enter the drawing, just shoot me a message on any of my social channels and be like, hey, Mark, I would love to win a copy of Smile. So yeah, bring home Smile on 4K UHD disc today. Sosie Bacon stars in a terrifying horror movie, which critics are calling haunting and scary as hell. Face your fears with over an hour of heart-pounding bonus content, including Laura Hasn't Slept, the nail-biting original short film that started it all, plus deleted scenes and more. Available on 4K and Blu-ray, rated R from Paramount Pictures. So yeah, just shoot me a message, then go watch Blood Relatives and A Wounded Fawn and let me know what you think about them. All right, enjoy. Thanks. Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man that just spilled some golf balls down the steps of a federal building. It's Josh Ruben. How you doing?
Wow, that is a deep cut. Holy shit. What's especially insane is I'm buddies with Patrick, who is in that sketch, and I saw him, I'm not shitting you, less than 24 hours ago.
Listen, Patrick, so he's from St. Petersburg, and so
Yes.
I'm a Florida boy, and I grew up loving movies. I grew up like in the country of Florida. So when I moved to St. Pete and I found out that like a local boy was making it big, like we're talking like the Alamo was a big deal for me, like Phantom of the Opera, like Jerry Butler
Yeah.
belting out songs. So no, it's awesome. Like I saw that skit and I had a couple intros. I was thinking about like being like, hey, it's a guy who isn't afraid to admit that he's upper middle class because I love bodies, bodies, bodies. And then I had another good one, but I figure I can ask that as a question later on. So but yeah, I'm glad you like that.
Yeah, wow, that was an amazing cut. That sketch is near and dear to my heart.
That's like my sensibilities right there too, because it just goes deeper and deeper and deeper into that.
Yes, it does. Yeah, I mean it's what they call like a listicle, almost
Yeah.
like a list article. It's just like they're just a list of ridiculous words and phrases. It's like
Oh.
how isn't that fun, you know?
I had to stop it a few times to write down as a guy in a tiger costume playing an inflatable guitar in a foggy room full of military personnel.
Oh yeah.
It kind of made me wonder, like, what do you think has the better fog, right? Do you think A Wounded Fawn has better fog work, or do you think that picture has better fog work? Like, where would you?
Oh, I mean, I highly commend Patrick Wilson's stock photos fog, but nothing beats Travis Stevens' fog because he's what they call the fog man in the industry.
I'm a big fan of Foghat, actually. My buddy got me a hat that said fog on it. Totally unrelated. But did he bust out like a tube of death for that? Because I worked on film sets. I spent like years drinking coffee on film sets. And
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was.
Because, I'm a big fan of fog in movies. And like The Rental, that Dave Franco one, I thought was pretty A+. Like,
oh, it's like A+ fog. Yes.
Like, it's not often that you notice fog in movies, and that's a good thing. But yeah, I was watching. I'm like, this is good fog work. Like, this feels organic. It fits the story. It's definitely stylized. Like, it has that great like kind of grindhouse, like Italian, like real red blood. So you need a lot of fog. And yeah, it was excellent fog work. So I'm happy to hear that the Tube of Death got some work.
It sure did. I'm glad it's back to work. I know it needs grocery money.
Yeah, it had a break there for a couple of years, and now the Tube
really
of Death is
did.
back
Divorce.
up. There's nothing.
Got divorced from the maple syrup fog machine.
Yeah, that was messy, right? Like that just.
Yeah. I mean, I remember that, especially in the college humor days, it just reeked of maple syrup. That was like the smell of the fog machine. The hazer was a different smell than the fog machine and the Tube of Death. But they all dated.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, it's a small community. They all know each other. It's gonna happen, so it's just gonna get ugly. But yeah.
It sure will. It sure will. It's a small town.
It's a small town for fog machines. I had a bubble machine in the club I worked in. I had to fill that up with bubbles every night before I started bouncing. And also, too, real random, but watching Blood Relatives. I'm terrible at intros. So I got Josh Ruben here. He is the star of A Wounded Fawn, the producer of Blood Relatives. They're streaming on Shudder. They're both wonderful. And they both also make me think about combination Pizza Hut and Taco Bells, which made me really happy because, speaking of being a bouncer, I had to listen to that song probably like twice a night for about 2 years. Yeah. And so whenever someone brings that up, that song just pops up in my head. So thank you for that. Brought back good bouncing memories.
That's all Noah Segan. I mean, that's the mind of a madman at work.
You know what I loved about Blood Relatives is that like anything that makes me think about Plan B and Near Dark is just cool with me. Like I was watching this movie and just traveling, traveling like the Midwest out in the middle of nowhere, the leather jacket, thinking about Bill Paxton out there, Lance Hendrickson, and then just thinking about how much I love that movie Plan B. It just kind of made me happy right off the bat. And also it has one of the best head smashes into a wall probably since The Raid, I would say.
Wow. I completely agree. Our stunt woman did an incredible job, and like I think truly took a hit because there's only so much scoring you can do with these plaster walls, but she pretty much head on slammed the side of her head into that wall and was like, yeah, no, I'm fine. I mean, I wouldn't do it again, but it was a good time. We had some real sacrificers on that one.
But it's great though, right? With the kind of indie filmmaking, you get these smaller budget filmmaking, you get this sort of family atmosphere out there, and everyone's kind of in it.
Yeah,
so,
you have to. You have to. It's a passionate endeavor. You can't do it any other way or get it done any other way.
Yeah, it's cool. Like when I first started in the industry, I just popped up on every set and I worked for free, and I would like sneak onto sets and hand out my resume, and it never worked. But I eventually got on a set that paid me nothing, and everybody quit it. But I just hung around. They couldn't get rid of me. I was like the gum on the bottom of their shoe. And it ended up getting me some pretty good jobs because I wouldn't quit. I was like, one day they're like, all right, Mark, do this. And I was driving the truck, and then I was doing this, and like, it was fun, man. But like those people I still talk to because I think those like the smaller budget films, like you're all sort of in it together. I think there's a sort of, I don't know, but a cohesion, right? Because you get on the big boys and they're awesome, but like it's just kind of segmented crews. So it's kind of fun being there with just, a smaller crew and getting in it.
It is. I mean, it harkens back to, how we used to make stuff with our buddies, just like pop out the camcorder and just, swing around, shoot it in order.
Yeah, just shoot. Like, you don't even know what you're doing. Like there's a certain purity to it, and you getting out there and doing it. So it makes me happy.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So real quick. I was reading your Q&A. You said you had a 20-pound cat sleeping on you and the power was out, and so you were able to do a Q&A, which is heaven. I have 2 cats, man, and like when they sit on your laps, like you'll just stay there. Like you won't move. Just having nice cats on you. But you're a fan of Demon Knight.
I'm a big fan of Demon Knight. I haven't seen it. I think at this point, I think I watch it every like 5 years. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely been a minute. The images I have are just the creature work and Jada and just the eyes, Billy Zane doing some ridiculous one-liners, Bill Sadler being a badass, a little bit of creating that boundary, I think, around the door with the blood, right? It was Jesus' blood?
Yeah.
Am I getting that right?
Well, yeah.
Wow. And it's just the things that stick with you. And of course, Dick Miller, like having that fantasy in the bar before, that's me giving you the finger, asshole. She lost her hand.
Thomas Hayden Church spitting a loogie, and then the monsters just kind of like yell at him and his hair blows back.
Whoa, I didn't realize he was in that. This is the thing, is you forget all the details, like, what the killer cast is.
Yeah, man, the THC's in it. He's so good. And like,
wow.
And like Ernest Dickerson, like I think he's sort of unheralded when it comes to horror. And
he is. He's a phenomenal director, and he's also like been killing it in TV for a long time.
Oh yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, that Demon Knight though, like the humor of it. I watched it when I was 13. I bought it from Columbia House, and that movie I think is just really stuck with me. So when I read it, it just made me happy because I think it's one of those. I mean, not unheralded, but it's just a good, confident tone. And then like thinking about tone, like A Wounded Fawn, it has such a heightened tone because what is it like? Hitchcock said something about there's either there's a bomb under the table or the bomb explodes. So like this one, I felt like the tension hit pretty hard because, you just really like Sarah Lynn, you really like what Meredith, you know that you're dangerous, and then you go to
Yeah.
this cabin, and then it just builds. But like keeping up that tone must have been pretty tough. Like I know you said the production schedule was pretty relaxed and you had time to kind of build into it, but was that kind of tough keeping everything heightened? I'm thinking night shoots. I don't know how much was in a studio, but or like a sound stage, but that must have been pretty tough to like keep up that energy, right?
You could say to a degree. I mean, it was an intimate set,
Yeah.
and we got our turnaround and everything. So you go in there well rested, and I
Oh,
think
nice.
Sarah and I both are artists and are so jazzed by just being able to finally, spend 28 days of the year living your dream when the rest of it is just this kind of questioning nightmare, questioning your existence. Like we were so excited to get there every day and just, be on. And so it didn't feel like there was this hefty pressure at all. I think because it was, it was a small set, and Travis is such a killer collaborative filmmaker who just, made sure we were kind of all on the same page when we got in there. But yeah, and you don't kind of think about tone too much. You just kind of think about, am I intimidating her in this scene, or am I being intimidated? And what's a different kind of interesting way without getting caught trying too hard to tackle this guy being outed, or this guy panicking, or this guy terrorized.
Got it. And not tripping on tree roots as you are.
Yeah, true. Yeah, truly. I mean, God, I would probably got, caused Travis and a bunch of crew to have a heart attack, just like I was too willing to run into the woods with a lantern. But I don't know. I think it was a combination of just like, sure, like the dedication and commitment, but also just like, we're here and there's people watching me and I get to entertain and I can, it's just, you're so energized by the dream element of it that, it's like I could run in and out of the woods all night and probably blast through all the tree roots, no problem. And I'll, eat my words on the next one and I'll just face plant terribly.
Hey, where did Josh go?
Yeah.
He just never stopped. No, but yeah, that's no, I really loved watching that movie, and I think one of my favorite moments is when Sarah's character, Wolf Cop's Sarah Lind, by the way, is talking about deconstructing the myth of the muse, and then female artists. Bruce just kind of gives nothing to that, and it just sort of kind of summed up the character a little bit. He just didn't really want to engage with that. But I like kind of how you built slowly sort of into that thing, and then not stopping when she was going to go. I think that's my nightmare, is when someone wouldn't stop if you have to use the restroom on a road trip. So just building that, like little kind of slow things. I can't think of like a great word, like not microaggressions, but like just slow like red flags. I kind of dug the build up of that, and no, I thought that was kind of cool to play.
Yeah, oh, completely. And then to see the red flags, I didn't think about that when I first saw it, and I was like, oh, that's pretty fucking red. I was like, oh, he's using the color red. And I was like, oh no, it's big red flags. He's not stopping at letter P.
And hey, real quick, so watching this movie, it made me think about art for movies that I would want in my house. Are there like any pieces of art from films that you would want in your home to like put up that you see, like a piece of art, like Portrait of a Lady on Fire? Like I would love to have that in my house. Like this, that was just on Sight and Sound's list, man. Number 30. That made me so happy. But then like, the kid writes fart on Raising Arizona. I would love to have that square framed.
Ooh, this is a great question. I feel like there's some like neon sign or something. I'd like anything from After Hours, literally anything. A mannequin, a sign, anything from Martin Scorsese's Griffin Dunn starring After Hours, whether it's, I don't know, something from that insane apartment that he ducked into, to the diner, to, I don't know, whatever, the side of the ice cream truck. That movie, I don't talk about it enough, but I fucking love it. It's just so killer. I'd want any piece of it. I'll frame it. I'll frame brick from After Hours.
Oh, that'd be nice. Nice frame brick. Get a nice shadow
Yeah,
box.
frame brick. Yeah, next to the DVD of Brick with Noah Sagan.
I just got that. I think who had a deal? MVD had a deal, or Kino, one of those places had a deal. So I just bought the Blu-ray. Yeah. One of my students, I teach at a college. I teach film studies, camera and lighting, and you give him a really simple assignment, but he turned it into this crazy film, neo noir, that he never finished. Wow. But I really applaud him for trying. He was thinking about making like a modern day neo noir, so I showed him clips from Brick, and then that reminded me of Brick, so I just bought it. I was like, it's been too
Yeah,
long.
that's a good one.
It's been
Yeah,
too
that's a
long.
good one. I actually, it's been too long I think I may have watched it as a high school senior, so I do think I need to go back and I need to revisit that one for sure.
Yeah, it's such a good movie. And when I love a movie, I buy the poster. And I remember I watched that movie and I immediately ordered the poster. So that's like one of my rare watch then buys. So and like also I came up with
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember Street Fighter, but all of Bison's paintings from his room. Like I just want
Oh,
Bison's room
sure.
from
Hell
Street
yeah.
Fighter.
Hell yeah.
And then that
Yeah.
line about Tuesday, like for me, it was a Tuesday. Yeah, that's
I mean, I remember Raul Julia just kind of chewing up the screen, and Jean-Claude Van Damme said, "Whoa, coming home with me."
yeah.
But that's about it. That's all I got.
I wrote a piece for Rotten Tomatoes about like I think the 20th or 25th anniversary, and it was mostly just about Raul Julia being amazing because I think he knew what movie he was in, and he just hammed it up. So that just made
He did. He just like ate life. That guy. It's a shame he's no longer around. You think about people like that, and Phil Hoffman and
yeah.
John Candy, and just like God, the places where you would have gone. All of them would have had their Lost in Translation moment or their Marvel moment. Even it would have been interesting to see them all, how they would have affected Hollywood.
Oh, they just owned the screen when they were on, didn't they?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Legends.
Oh gosh. And then also too, I was reading about blood relatives, and Segan was talking about kind of writing that after he had a kid during the pandemic, and I have like a 15-month-year-old, and like it's changed the way I really watch movies, and I really kind of dug that. He also said that he was influenced. I'm like a pinball machine when I podcast, so just giving you a heads up, I'm all over the place.
And that's all good. I love it.
There's no like ABC. I'm like AZQ. But he was writing about talking about how he kind of loved movies like The Addiction and vampire movies that aren't exactly vampire movies, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so,
sure, absolutely. Absolutely.
Is that what kind of led you to help, like just a friend of yours, so you wanted to help him produce it, or like what about the script did you like to kind of get you on board?
I love the heart. I also, as a producer, I love the size of it. I love that, just as someone who made a movie like Scare Me, which is essentially a black box theater play. I love that so much of this film is just dialogue between two characters, or then two characters that then meet a third character on the road. I love that. I love that it was mountable, and that it was an opportunity for, certainly Noah to shine, but for Victoria to really have a vehicle as someone who I've worked with on Plan B, as you were talking about, and just completely fell head over heels for us. Just a fan. I mean, she's such a star. To be able to work with her in any regard, really, it was so killer, and really special just to see her and Noah hit it off.
Yeah, and you could tell they could. Like you can tell they did, and watching Plan B, when you see Victoria's performance, actually everyone in that movie, but you're like this, they pop. When certain people sort of pop, like that's a pop performance, and I love that movie. So it's
truly.
So when I saw that she was in this, when I saw the kind of vampire theme and like the way that he has to survive, like it kind of, like I'm like a lifelong zombie fan, so whenever I go someplace, I always think about how I'd like fortify it. Like I was at Sprouts, and I'm like, how would I get this like safe from zombies? But just watching this. And just seeing like the way he survives on the road, the old car, people paying his thing every year, like it answered pretty cool questions about a world I didn't really even think about. And between Blood Relatives and Bones and All this year, I think they're like a good double header of kind of thoughtful cross-country tales about people eating other people while kind of figuring out family life. And
yeah. I mean, well, that one's on the docket tonight.
Oh, really? Nice.
With the wife and I. I'm excited to see it. We have a DJ screen, and it's like I finally get to see what the kind of comparison of it was. I remember Noah had like just was worried for just a second. It's like there's a little bit of a similarity, but it actually makes it kind of fun because we want this to be a gateway horror. We want it to be canonized by young girls. We want families to be able to sort of watch it together, certainly by a certain age. So it's for those of us who can't necessarily take fingers being chewed off or what have you. It's like, well, this is an opportunity to to dip your toes into it without getting them necessarily bitten clean off.
As much as I love Titan or T10, or Raw or Revenge, you're not going to casually watch that watch those movies with people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
You need to make your way in first.
Yeah, I got this movie, I Saw the Devil. Let's sit down and watch it.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful film, by the way, though. That's like one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, it truly is.
But yeah, no, and you can tell the earnestness, and you can tell that the dialogue that Noah's delivering, he wrote. Like you can tell he feels this movie. And I was watching what is it, In the World by Lake Bell. I kind of got similar vibes from that, where she just sort of felt. It's a completely different movie, but you can kind of feel when a writer director just embraces. You know what I mean? Like they're saying these words that they wrote, and you can just see it in them. And I think that energy definitely carries the movie through, and I like that a lot about it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to have a nice long life. I think Wounded Fawn will too, but for far different reasons. I'm realizing as I've kind of ventured into further and further into the further of our horror community. People love blood. They love all kinds of horror, but boy, do they love blood. Boy, do they like spectacle. I wonder what it is. We're sick.
Yeah. I do love the French horror films too, because as much as blood as we have kind of in America, I think the French just go for it so hard. And I kind of embrace that. And I guess one thing I like about A Wounded Fawn is it really does. I've been actually getting into exploitation cinema of like the 80s, just a huge blind spot that I've had, or I'm not familiar with the genre, so I watch Miss 45. I've watched I Spit on Your Grave, Maniac. And I like now that people are sort of flipping that genre a little bit. And, you become I don't know, I don't want to do spoilers. But, it doesn't go where you expect. And I think some horror fans might have problems with that because, like decades of slasher movies, kind of you go one direction. So I like that this movie sort of zigs and zags. And I didn't know where it was going. And I really like that for it. Like I like when new things are like when I see new things, when the snakes pop up, the ending sequence, and I think people are just gonna really, I don't know. At least for me, I got into the kind of the way it was shot. It was like a 1:7:8 to 1 aspect ratio. Is that what that was?
Ooh, you would know better than I would. I just know it was 16 mil, and Sushi Genenfeld, our cinematographer, is a genius. But you're right. I mean, it's fresh on so many different levels, and it's visionary. And this is both the exciting thing and the sort of scary thing about venturing into genre and genre filmmaking is that there's so much that's been done.
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's like, what is there left to do? And now how intricate can we get? You're talking about bodies. That was one of my favorites because it explores how, that's a whole other antagonist to a degree. Mm-hmm. You're dealing with people, you're dealing with toxic, whatever, TikTok culture, what have you, and the effect on a certain generation. Whereas Barbarian, is ostensibly one thing and turns out to be completely another. And Nope, flips the kind of alien horror on its head. There's so much exciting shit out there, and yet so much to explore for the audiences whose sensibilities are getting so much more complex. It's exciting, but it's also sort of daunting because it's like, what is there to do? And everybody's like, everybody you talk to is like, how do we make our next Freddy or whatever? I'm hopeful because it opens up. It really allows us filmmakers who are kind of just getting into it with new opportunities to just keep the imagination as open as possible. The tricky thing is trying to convince people or digestibly explain an original concept to a company, to a buyer, to a financier, to a producer, to get them aboard, to have them, climb aboard the train and go, yeah, let's create this new character no one's seen before. Here are the pieces of it that are going to work. That's the trickiest part about all this. It's like getting someone to believe in you and come along for the ride, fund the fucking thing, because and it sure is not alive until the money's in the bank. I mean, so many horror stories.
Oh, absolutely. And too, like there's so many great horror films out there, but they're not exactly high concept. So it's kind of easy to pitch something like, Freddy, a guy kills people in your dreams, or that's such like an easy concept to pitch in an elevator. And so when you have a movie like A Wounded Fawn, to break that down into an elevator pitch or something that would get money is it's got to be quite daunting. But he did build up.
That's the brilliant thing about just to quickly say
Yeah.
about Shudder. That's the
Oh yeah.
beautiful thing about that platform is, people like Sam Zimmerman and Emily Gatto, they are and unfortunately, people like Sean Redlitz and Craig Engler, who were just recently laid off with these, the kind of AMC layoffs, which are just, I think, ridiculous and heartbreaking. Shudder, a platform like that, they're pumping blood into the horror community in a way that is just hadn't really been done or done
Mm-hmm.
so consistently in a long time. And the result of that is so fruitful. They're giving a voice, they're giving resources to horror filmmakers, and in a manner that just simply wasn't there.
Absolutely. And a lot of people are like, oh, like films today aren't that great, but I think we're in a great age because in the 90s when I grew
Yeah.
up with horror, right? We were kind of in the like we had great films like Bram Stoker's Dracula, but it was mostly like the remnants of slashers, and then we had Scream blow up, and then the 2000s was all about, remakes, Saw,
Uh-huh.
zombies. But I think when Insidious came out in 2011, James Wan kind of got his mojo back a little bit. 1.5 million budget. P-Dubs was in it, our friend, who I've never met, Patrick Wilson. And that movie blew up, right? And then we got Sinister with Ethan Hawke wearing awesome cardigans.
Yeah.
And then we get Robert Eggers. And then we get, like, just Julia Ducournau, like, amazing Jordan Peele. Like, now we have Shudder. So there's so much horror coming out. It feels like it's opened up. It's more diverse. I think there's really interesting stories being told. I mean, you just look at the horror of the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And Mad
Yeah,
God,
it's incredible.
Mad God just came out. What a holy
Yeah.
mackerel.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and so I think
Phenomenal.
we're in a great age for horror. And I think a lot of it, like, Bodies was super accessible for a lot of people. And I think
Yeah.
there's some really cool movies out there that are kind of getting people talking. And, like A24 also made their own brand of horror, which I think is more accessible to people than the real, like, exploitative slasher films. So yeah, we're like in a heyday of horror cinema, and it's been cool kind of watching your rise, watching like these two movies, because let's get new voices, right? Like let's hear new people.
Oh my
make
God,
films.
yeah, absolutely. I'm eager to see who the next Karn Kusama is.
Yeah.
And the next Catherine Bigelow. I want more of these like genre horror filmmaker women entering the atmosphere. I know the filmmaker was it Nanny, and I think Sissy's a woman filmmaker that I don't want to speak out of turn. Kate Dolan is incredible, who did You Are Not My Mother, Natasha Kermani, it's Maggie Levin. I mean, there's some incredible women filmmakers out there. I'm a little inundated or a little kind of concerned by the number of horror dudes who look like me, and so that's why I'm like, let's get our women of color and from different backgrounds telling stories from different perspectives from other than people who look like me, and still the last few movies is why, not to get on a tangent, but certainly what I loved about Blood Relatives was Noah as a 5th generation New York Jew, and was so open to his having a Latina co-lead play his daughter, and then you're bringing in a native actor like John Proudstar and Tracy Toms. That we have a really rad cast, and we worked hard to make sure that our crew is diverse as well, because we're dudes that look like this, and why not? So it is our responsibility, especially as I'm about to embark on another film, whatever that film is, that will be my next endeavor. It's like what can I how can I send the elevator back down in any which way, because it will keep me fresh if we want to get selfish about it beyond it just being, I think a valuable responsibility, and really crucial is I want to produce for those up and coming filmmakers, but they need a way in, they need opportunity. And if I can do that any which way, whether it's casting or whether it's crewing up or whatever, I'm damn well going to do it.
Yeah, please do. And I also want to give a shout to Lee Janiak. I'm sorry if I messed up the name, but the Fear Street movies, and then Coralie Fargeau. She directed Revenge, which I love.
That's Cheese Killer. Yeah, we're big fans.
Beautiful movie. I just did like my favorite moments of the 21st century horror in the Phoenix beer can. is just one of my favorite movies.
Wow.
It's so literal, man, but it's
Yeah.
beautiful, and it just
Yeah.
it put a huge smile on my face. And hey, for your next film, I have a pitch for you. So
Okay.
you brought up Bergman's Island, right? You want to remake that. I read that in an interview.
Bergman. Oh,
Yeah,
that was I
yeah,
was I
yeah.
was definitely
Oh,
joking.
I know.
But
But it'd be a good way to get a
okay.
dark
But I mean,
man.
I would have, but I can't remember who I said being. Oh, yes. Okay. Bergman's Island.
Okay,
Yes.
so you want to make a dark man film. So
Yes.
Bergman Island, right? It was IFC. Werewolves Within, IFC. Liam Neeson did an IFC movie with his son where he went to Italy. So you could do like a Bergman Island style narrative,
Right.
right? Where you get Liam Neeson, Frances McDormand, and Sam Raimi just in Italy. Get them a great villa. And then they walk around talking about what the Darkman sequel would have been. And then you can flash to that while they're talking
Oh,
and then flash back to them. You know, like Alison Brie just had a movie there in Italy. Great fog work, we already know. Darkman fog. Like IFC's
hey,
great in the
White
fog.
Lotus
Yeah,
took
white.
off. Italy's having a moment right now.
Yeah.
I actually think this might be the only way to get the three of them back together, and I actually really fucking love it because it would just be interesting as hell. I love that idea. Greenlit.
Yeah, that's the way my brain works. I see a movie and then like I go
I
full
love
Chuck
it.
from that TV show.
Yes.
And
Oh, I love it. I love it.
and then one last thing, you love Deep Rising. You said you might want to make Deep Rising. Now, I'm a huge fan of jet ski cinema, but the problem is like a lot of movies that feature jet ski action scenes aren't very highly rated and they lose a lot of money. So like Waterworld, Hard Rain, Deep Rising,
Yeah.
Police Academy 4, Baywatch, Transporter Refueled. Jet ski action scenes just aren't, Universal Soldier 2. You made like one of the highest rated, video game adaptation.
Yeah.
So if you could add a jet ski action scene in your next film and then have it at least be, somewhat respectably rated, you could have the highest jet ski action scene film of all time. If you just toss it in
all I
there.
want to do is upend what people tried to do before. Like the one after that, I'll just remake Battleship and just undo everything. I didn't see Battleship, but yeah, I just want to remake history. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
actually do the work, not remake Jaws or remake whatever. People are remaking all these beautiful movies, Old Boy, whatever. Like let's remake stuff that needs some help. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's remake Police Academy 4.
Yeah, there you go.
Trip to Miami.
Needs our help.
But yeah, that's just my plea to you. It'll never happen. But one of these.
I love the detail. I love how detail oriented and how your filmography knowledge. I mean, you're a professor. It's uncanny.
Well, that's how I make my money. Like Rotten Tomatoes, I wrote that Tom Cruise running piece in 2018. So like, I feel like I've made my money.
Wow.
I've made my money when people are like, hey, like I wonder how much he does that in this. And I'm like, well, I'll count it. And then I write a piece about it, and people are like, holy crap. So like that's how I make my money is like answering the questions that people talk about when they're, they have 4 pretentious IPAs in them, and they forget about the next day. So like that's how I've made my money.
I love it. Hey, you're talking to a guy who made internet video for 7 years.
Yeah.
What's the most relevant iPhone and Katy Perry video? So.
Yeah, I love in like the Shaq videos and like it's great. So I feel like you've directed things and created things that like I've had minor parts with these people. Like I stood in for Shaq once, which is weird. They put me on an Apple box during one of his commercials and told me.
Wow! Oh my God, crazy!
And then they're like, hey Mark, now you have to dance. So I'd like dance on an Apple box while standing in for Shaq. And then Kevin Bacon, I was a PA on The Following. And they made me be a cop, so I'm 0 degrees from Bacon, and you directed him in your show. So I have very minor roles with people that you've directed. So I feel like we have a tiny connection there in the industry. So it's
I never
pretty cool.
thought that in doing Last Degree, or certainly in you peeing on The Following and then playing a cop, that we would then be a part of the degrees.
Yeah.
And look at that, we've rewritten history. We're legends.
I'm sorry we didn't talk too much about Blood Relatives and A Wounded Fawn, but I love the movies. I definitely think people should go out and watch them. And I know you got to get out of here, to go enjoy a cool movie. So I don't want to keep you too much longer. But if there's anything else you want to pitch before we get out of here, I'd love to hear it.
I mean, this conversation was everything I could have ever possibly dreamed it would be, with a Florida boy and a lot of joy. I have nothing to pitch other than to wish you and yours a happy holiday and to watch whatever you'd like without having to worry about it being on commission from anywhere. Although if you're getting joy out of it, count those sprints.
But hey, this was great. Thank you so much for your time. And that's really cool that you reached out and you actually showed up on time and talked to me and so we could promote your movie. So this was great.
Oh my gosh, I'm trying to do the best I can with all 50 of these on my little indie press tour, so to speak. So it's a pleasure, and it's been amazing to meet so many different interviewers and be asked such insightful, killer questions and have all these great conversations. I'm digging it.
Cool. So, yeah, insightful with my jet ski things, but I figured I'd go a little weird for you
Hell
since you've
yeah.
done so many.
Hell yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me. This was great.
Thank you, Mark. I really appreciate it. Have a good one, man.
Awesome. So for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, for Josh Ruben, this is Movies, Films, and Flicks. We'll see you next week.